Hey guys, it's Cousin Vinny coming to you on July the 15th, Sunday, 2.5 hours before the futures open Sunday night, with a look at the week ahead. I am currently looking at only longs going into this week, considering the RSI on the ESF, the pivot that we put in on Thursday and Friday, this wick that we put in Thursday almost came down to the 50% level from this low in May, okay, and we're currently in this ascending wedge until we break lower or do something of that kind. I'm looking at the volume here, and with this particular ES contract, the Septembers, if we break above the 100% level and get back into this wedge and hit the upper trend line, I'm looking at this 127 extension as a possible target. The previous highs that were put in March, April, okay? So that's the ES. And one has to also consider the 50-period moving average, which is moving horizontally now, and we closed above it. This candle obviously shows that buyers are in control, and the sellers here lost conviction on this move down, and we closed back higher at the 382. So this looks pretty good for a move higher. We're also creating a cup shape, all right, which could translate into a cup that comes up to the 127 extension. We play off on lower volumes, which we would look for at this high here in the handle, and then a break higher into the November elections. So that looks pretty good. For the most part, everything looks bullish. And this week, I'll only be playing bullish plays because we're bouncing off of this lower wedge line, and we should move higher for the most part, considering this conviction that we saw here on Friday. Now, looking at currencies, the DBV, which is what I look at for a bullish bent on the market, we have broken this descending trend line over the last few weeks, and now we're currently trading higher. Notice the Kumo, that we're getting a Kumo twist here. We're not oversold, obviously. We're up in the 61 range, and we could turn higher or turn lower. So that's a caveat. But both Tinkin and Kijun are both moving higher. Kijun is above price, so this is bullish for the currencies. All right, so keep an eye on Forex. If you're bullish, you want copper to move higher as well. And we see that copper broke above this descending trend line. We are at the 43 range. We are turning, and we're right in the middle of the cloud right now. So there's no trade here right now, but what I would expect to see is a bullish Kumo breakout. We have a Tinkin Kijun cross here, and we have Chiku above price here as well. So I would like to see copper move higher this week. So keep an eye on that for the bullish trade going into the week. Keep an eye on the euro US dollar. Okay, that may give some indications as to directional trade as well. Disregarding this particular low here, pivot, we do have a lower range here with stochastics oversold, so it's a very good possibility we could see a move back up to the Kumo at least at the 125 area, okay, on the euro US dollar cross. So that, and plus I'm also looking at the possibility of a trend break and things move higher because of all of the negative news that's been coming out of Europe over the last couple of months, okay? Note the Aussie US dollar cross, that we're above Kumo, and Tinkin and Kijun are basically flattening out, which means we could see a sideways action. Stochastics is oversold, but I'm feeling that we could see a move higher with stochastics moving higher as well. So that's the AUDS US dollar against the Swiss franc. You can see what's happened here. We're basically flagging out, and we're right at almost parity So this looks interesting as well. We had this nice bounce off of Kumo. If you were trading the currencies, obviously you could have made a nice move here on the Swiss franc. Watching the US dollar Japanese yen cross, we can see that we're right above where we bounced on span A, and the trend is up. So with stochastics oversold, is a very good possibility we could see a move higher. Okay, so if you take this low and you move through here, you could see that it's a very good possibility. The trend is up for the most part. Okay, so I would keep an eye on that regarding any of your equities trades this week on US domestic stocks. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that I am only going to be trading bullish trades this week. Okay, looking at TOS, we can see that the US dollar was rejected at the 83.65 area for the most part, and we put in a red candle on interesting volume on Friday. Okay, so 83.65 was the number that I kept looking at to keep an eye on. Of course, we could always trade above it slightly, take out some stops, and then move lower. We have HG, which I mentioned earlier, which is at 13.49. This is bullish. It's above Kumo. And ES, of course, we traded towards the end of Friday at the 13.52 level, closing at that point. So this looks pretty good for a bullish trade going into the week in terms of domestic equities. Any of the positions that you have that are oversold on stochastics and are in good setups. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those. KOG is something we looked at during, I think it was either Thursday or Friday. GTO mentioned it. I happened to be on vacation, but I did hear his broadcast and I took a position on either Wednesday or Thursday, I forget which. But the point is that we closed higher. We touched the span B on Kumo, and we're looking for a Kumo breakout this week. All right, stochastics are overbought, but if we look at the MACD with stochastics oversold, which I always look at, I want to see what MACD is doing. Many times you can have stochastics overbought, and MACD will tell you that we can get embedded if you watch this particular indicator. You want to see this moving higher. It went through the 0 point, and everything is pointing to a higher trade into the future. We had this descending channel that we were in, okay, that we broke above. We had bullish options, open interest on all of the strikes going out to 2013. We had 20,000 August, which is pretty significant. Someone's looking at this as from a bullish point of view. And if you do any research and on finance, Yahoo Finance, or Seeking Alpha, you'll see that there's a lot of interest in KOG. 11.78% short. Earnings are August the 2nd, and there's a potential for a Kumo breakout on the daily. So keep an eye on this one. All right, I already have a position at 20 August 9 calls, I believe, at the present. If we break above this, I'll probably add to that maybe 10 to 20 calls. I might do a spread as well, so that's possible as well. I typically don't post that in the room, so that's something that you'd have to follow me on in terms of Twitter or so forth to know exactly what trade I'm taking. But there's also a lot of good, interesting stories on the Bacon Shale deposits and what that could do for America's independence from the Saudis and the Middle East in terms of oil. Okay, so this is a good name. I like this a lot for an $8 stock. XNPT is a Xenopoint, a cheap drug biotech stock, as Stephen Place likes to say, a biotech hand grenade. But this is very bullish action. We had this trade where we were moving off taking in Kijun and the Kumo, and we broke above this trend line. And now we're flagging out at this level. We're trying to break this level here, and currently we have a ascending triangle pattern. So this tends to break to the upside, with all this bullish action showing on the Kumo, and the fact that if you zoom out, you'll see that we've broken this descending trend that we put in since April of 2011. Okay, and if we look at the weekly, it's a little clearer. You can see where this thing is traded to. $65 a share back in 2008, 2007. Okay, so I'm only looking at this for a short-term swing. So keep an eye on this on a weekly basis. We have this 9.61% short options interest. So for you newbies, that just means it's fuel for the fire. If the stock continues to move higher, you have this tendency for all of these shorts to cover. It's going to take at least 7 or 8 days to cover that short position. So we could easily make it up to this level here at 750 or so. Okay, so that's Xenoport. I'm also on a bullish trade in POT, AGU, and CF. Okay, so this is POT. We're basically flagging out for the most part. We're descending a little bit here on the stochastics, but we also have a MACD cross, so you have to keep an eye on that. We had a nice week on the AGs. If you look at CF, same thing. We have a nice flag here. This looks actually a little better on both the regular chart and the Kumo. If these all start to work together, this is something I would keep an eye on. Alright, so this looks good as well. So I have all three of these in terms of a spread trade, bullish spread trade. In addition, I've been looking at some energy stocks that came up on a scan on stock charts. We have BP, which is about to break out of a Kumo, descending Kumo pattern. Right, so this looks very bullish for an upside break. Right, and BP's had a lot of bad press, obviously, since the oil spill, but this is something to keep an eye on. BP and a number of others. I'm jumping around here, but the New York Composite, note that on the point and figure chart we had 3 nice X's on the way up. We'd look for a break above 7,900 to give us a bullish buy signal on the point and figure on the NYA. So that's something I'm watching as well. So US dollar, as you can see, we hit this level here, 83.65, which is this horizontal. This is a level that goes back several years. This is not something that happened just recently. Okay, so using point and figure charts, you can use these for support and resistance levels as well. So I use regular charts, I use point and figure, and I also use Ichimoku to look at the best possible trades I can take going forward. Okay, so let's take a look at GTO's bond stock ratio. By the way, if you're not a member of Day Trader Bootcamp, you need to do yourself a favor. For less than, I don't know, $2 a day, you can utilize just the charts alone, which create opportunity for you to make lots of money in terms of trading if you're an experienced trader, because he does all the work, all of the support and resistance levels, all of the setups, trend lines, and so forth are all on his charts. So there's a wealth of information here. If you look through here, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of charts. You just click on a link and you go right to whatever it is that you're looking at. Okay, S&P monthly, 10-year, weekly, bond stock ratio, which we'll look at here, S&P to copper, S&P to IYR, and so forth. So do yourself a favor and check out GTO's site. It's great value. You can always check the 2-week free trial. Alright, and you can come and meet myself and many other experienced traders that you may be aware of that you see on StockTwits and so forth. So let's take a look at the bond stock ratio. Okay, so with the bond stock ratio, GTO will explain this a lot better. I anticipate he might say something over the weekend regarding this, but if you look at what we've done, we broke higher and then down through the moving average, okay, the stocks moved lower last week, and now we're looking like we're flattening out on the bond stock ratio. So I'd keep an eye on this for a move lower, okay, to substantiate a move higher in terms of the S&P this week and going into the November elections. Okay, you can always have a move back up to the trend line and then move lower, or a move back through it. So this is something you want to keep an eye on, and as a member you would have access to this information. Apple is a small position that I have from Thursday off of Tick and Kijun. Okay, we came down to Kijun, we bounced off of that and closed higher. I'm currently long at 601.25. It's only 20 common, no big deal, but I'm looking for this to move higher. Price line's another one that I'm looking at in terms of a move higher. Okay, with this trend line, we have the Kumo above, and we also have stochastics approaching oversold and the possibility of move higher. Okay, I don't have a position here, but I'm looking to get long if this does create an opportunity for a trend higher. Okay, so I'd love to see this break in through. This is a very large amount of resistance, by the way, on the Kumo, so keep an eye on that. Amazon's another one. Alright, I have a trade on here on Thursday as well. We have stochastics oversold. We have an ascending pattern here. We have Kumo support, and we had a nice green candle on Friday. I have a target for this upper level here, this upper trend line I should say, for a trade back up to this point at 227, 226. So I'm currently long at 215.75, and again this is only 20 shares, so no big deal. Google's another one I'm watching out, one of the leaders for an opportunity to move higher. We have Kumo up here at the 585 level, and we had a nice move down, and we're right at the Tick and Kijun, so I'm keeping an eye on this. I currently do not have a trade on this one. Alright, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you on July the 15th with a look at the week ahead and some of the trades that I'm currently positioning for trades that I already have on. Okay, remember to use your stops, and we'll talk to you soon.